the final score, Wrexham 3, Halifax Town 1. This was a deeply satisfying match, hugely enjoyable after a bad start. But Wrexham showed resilience, strength of character, quality, and got there and made it an extremely memorable night under the massive floodlights. A game which started off with Rob McElhenney's blimp of the Ryan Reynolds Memorial blimp floating above the ground, and ended with everybody from the home side walking on air. Halifax, the equal lowest scorers in the division, but their form's improved lately, and they started well. In fact, I would argue they got their tactics spot on for the first 20 minutes, and we didn't in terms of our response to them. But partly through choice, I think, and partly through necessity, Halifax abandoned that approach, and ultimately it would cost them dear. But the early signs were very good for them. They were very organised. They had a really good pressing plan. They were really putting pressure out wide, which was restricting our space. Elliot Lee starting in midfield in an unchanged team on the left-hand side of the three was really immediately getting closed down the moment he picked her up there. It was a rare sight of Elliot Lee failing to find space, because normally he's so good at that, and he would have a frustrating time of it, struggling to find the targets with his passes, because Halifax restricted space on the flanks so well, using the touchline as an extra defender to press. And yeah, Wrexham found it very difficult, couldn't get any sort of momentum going in the early stages. Halifax monopolised the ball as well for long periods. The first real chances of the game, well, it started off with a corner to Wrexham. It came back out. James Jones hit a ferocious shot, but it was blocked. And then Cook picked the ball up and went on a really good break for Halifax, which ended in a shot from the edge of the area, which Howard held fairly comfortably low down to his right. But that was a warning shot. In the 12th minute, Halifax went ahead. Soft penalty decision given to them. Maybe it was ultimately counted against them, because, well, they didn't maintain their game plan that much longer after the goal. But anyway, the penalty for me was soft. Manny Diserova getting the ball in the box. He's a big, awkward, gangling target man, and he drew a foul from Luke Young. He was looking for it, certainly. I think Young was impetuous as Diserova ran away from him. He ran behind him and tried to stretch his leg around the big leggy striker to somehow make contact with the ball. He didn't. He did make contact with the man. Yeah, we can't argue with any of that. The thing is, was there enough contact to knock him over? I would argue not. And also, was Diserova looking for the contact? When you look at it from the camera angle, there was a camera that Diserova was actually running towards. You can see he sticks his leg across and gets right in Young's path, draws the contact, and then goes down quite theatrically. The sort of thing that usually puts refs off. But the referee on this occasion, Michael Barlow, pointed to the spot and Diserova slotted it home. Wrexham are furious. They were already angry because there'd been some bizarre incidents involving Ty Golden, the Halifax right back. I say bizarre the way they were handled. In the opening moments, McFadden beat him and was running into the penalty area unhindered, or would have been, but Golden has reached out and grabbed his wrist and wouldn't let go. A clear foul. And the rule of thumb is that if you're not trying to play the ball with your feet, if you're actually grabbing hold of people to stop them getting past you, you just get a yellow. The referee didn't. So that was a shock. Even more of a shock when about 5 minutes later, he was beaten again and responded by grabbing hold of his man near the edge of the box. And again, astonishingly, the ref didn't show the yellow. He finally did show Golden the yellow just after that goal, when he went right through the back of his man and conceded the free kick. But there were three, for me, cast iron yellows, and it set a tone. Wrexham extremely unhappy with the referee, who felt like he was guessing on occasions. And that penalty call as well, as you'll see. Right, I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was soft. But if you're going to give it, you've got to keep giving challenges like that. And I know I'm biased, but I'm going to say it. Genuinely trying to be dispassionate. If the first one was a penalty, Wrexham really ought to have had 4 or 5 penalties. And that may sound crazy. but Halifax were very handsy when it came to defending set pieces. Virtually every set piece, you could probably make a case for a penalty, and considering what was given against Wrexham, a decent case. The first of those shouts came in the 21st minute. Tozer with a huge throw towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Mullen backing into Hunter, goes down asking for the penalty. I mean, again, I'm just saying, compared to that last one, this was more of a penalty. I do think Mullen initiates the contact. He's backing in, and he just jumps into him a little bit and hits the deck. But Hunter's got a firm grip of his shirt. He's not going anywhere, especially when you look at the photographs, the pictures that the media team have managed to take for us are wonderful in terms of illustrating this. You can see from all angles Hunter is holding on to Mullen. Of course, nothing given. A few minutes later, Wrexham's best moment so far in terms of build-up play. As well, an opportunity. He's Toes with another long throw. It bounced awkwardly off Senior to fall to Palmer, who had a good chance 10 yards out, hit the snapshot, didn't quite get hold of it though, and Johnson did well to hold it low down to his left. Wrexham still struggling for rhythm, but the fact of the matter is Halifax, after this very intense pressing game, went onto the back foot. Like I said, partly I think through choice, they had a lead to defend, but also through necessity, because pressing ferociously like that is tiring, and Wrexham was starting to push them back in their own box. Wrexham were not amazingly fluent, but the chances were starting to come, and as the half came to an end, the chances became a bit of a torrent. Firstly, Jones winning the ball, and then a lovely move as Lee helped it on quickly to the right-hand side. Ford ripped a terrific cross to the far post, and Mullen, leaping high, was just beaten to it by Golden, who managed to head it just wide of the post for a corner. A minute later, Tozer with another long throw. Hayden pulled to the ground by Arthur. Looked like a penalty, not given. Then another nice piece of play. James Jones chipping the ball over to the right-hand side, an excellent pass. Ford accelerating past Senior into the box, chipping a brilliant ball into the far post. McFadden met it with a looping header. Keeper had no chance. The ball hit the bar and bounced away. However, having chased Ford back into the box, Senior lunged in and scissor tackled him in the box. It's a penalty. There is no other interpretation. Referee wave play on. 4 minutes before the end of the half, a slip by Deborah leaves Mullen one-on-one. The defender recovers really well though to get a challenge in. The ball falls to Palmer, whose shot is driven and blocked into the bar, ricochets back out, and Lee tries to curl it, doesn't get it right, can't bring it back in, and it goes wide. And then in the last minute of the 45, another long throw by Tozer. For once, Wrexham managing to evade the grips of defenders and get ahead on it, but Palmer, who is being held, heads the ball over from 6 yards out. Second half, Wrexham again fairly quickly got into their rhythm. Young sweeping in a foul. Again, Hayden being fouled. This one, off the ball, definite penalty. They were just... Well, I mean, look, I don't actually blame Halifax for their policy of grabbing hold of the big players at the set pieces. I mean, if I was in charge of a team and I could see that the referee was not going to penalise shirt pulling from set pieces at all, I would be saying, right, if Hayden runs at you, you've conceded the goal. If he gets to run on you, you're not going to beat him in the air. So block him off, foul him, off the ball, so he never gets there in the first place. They were blatantly doing it, but this referee, I'm afraid, couldn't see that, or chose not to see that. I don't know what was going on in his mind. All I know is a lot of very obvious decisions weren't given. Wrexham continued, and Johnson, the goalkeeper of Halifax, who consistently makes great saves against Wrexham, came up trumps again. Ford with a deflected cross, that flew in the air. A poor punch initially by Johnson. Mullen with a really good chance 15 yards out. Surprisingly for him, he didn't show the usual composure. He pulled a poor, weak shot, but it fell for Palmer. A glorious opportunity just outside the 6-yard box. He had a clear sight of half the goal, and to be honest, he should have scored. Having said that, although his shot gave the keeper a chance, it was still a fabulous save by Johnson, who gone to ground a little early, has smashed him with power above him from close range, and he somehow managed to get his hands up and push it over the bar. Absolutely outstanding. Wrexham well on top, but having to work really hard to create the chances. And so, as we know, when Phil Parkinson's concerned about how things are going, he doesn't hesitate. 62 minutes gone, he makes the big change. Jordan Tunnicliffe, who'd been very good at the back, is brought off, not because of anything he's done wrong, but because we're going to switch the four at the back, put Jordan Davis into the diamond, and try to push forwards with a different shape. And it worked very swiftly. Wrexham starting to find shape because of the change of formation, and, well, within 3 minutes of the change, Wrexham had scored. In the lead up to it, wait for it, probably should have had a penalty. Tozer with a long throw, and again, Hayden manhandled, no penalty given, but Wrexham kept the ball alive, put another ball in the box. It was headed to the edge of the area, and Tozer met it with a strike with the outside of his right foot, which, I've got to be honest, until I saw the highlights, the replay, and I'm sad to say this, looked like an amazing goal. Struck it with the outside of his right foot, and it looped over the keeper and dropped perfectly into the top left corner. Having seen the replays, there's just a little nick on it, a defender lunging at it, it hits him, and that puts the spin on it, and so there's a big element of luck in it. But Wrexham deserved a luck, really, because they weren't getting out from the officials, and pushed on. The crowd in the second half, absolutely magnificent. Been a little bit restless in the first half, understandably, because Wrexham struggled to find their rhythm. Second half, constant barrage by Wrexham, attack against defence. Halifax had a couple of sharp breakaways, to be fair, but it never looked like they were going to take advantage of them particularly. I've got to say, they are the lowest scorers in the division, and you could sort of see why, because they only score because they're getting a soft penalty. And they were getting into decent positions, but didn't really look like they had much finish to them. So Wrexham pushing for the winner. In the 73rd minute, Johnson repels them with an utterly magnificent double save. I mean, this really was terrific goalkeeping. Halifax, to be fair, were right in arguing that neither save should have been made, because a Halifax player went down with what appeared to be a head injury in the 6-yard box and was lying in the 6-yard box, and incredibly, the referee ignored it. Wrexham were glad, though, because Lee got the ball from the cleared set piece and drove in a shot. At first, it looked like Johnson had just misjudged it and should have held on to it. But again, on looking at the replay, there's a deflection that just takes it away from him. Plus, he's got a man lying down in front of him. He does really well to push it to his left, but the ball rolls temptingly across the open goal with Johnson flat on the floor, about a yard out, if that. Johnson looks like he's not going to get a chance to recover. Hayden sprinting to knock it into an empty net. But Johnson, amazingly, I mean, goalkeepers do practice this save, get on the floor, up again, try to save again. But this was that in spades. He lunged across and just managed to block Hayden as he hit the ball towards the goal from point blank range. A remarkable stretching save. Wrexham kept going, kept putting on the pressure. The ball played in again to Palmer in the left channel, a great chance. He cuts inside well, one-on-one with Johnson, drills it to the keeper's left. The keeper does ever so well to stretch and make another great save with his left foot. The ball going at speed across the open goal, and Hayden, cruelly, is about one step too far forwards. He can only make contact with it as it goes past him, behind him, and the chance momentarily is gone. Although moments later, Johnson's called into action again, and this time he was a little bit lucky. A lovely build-up on the right between the two centre-backs, Hayden and Tozer, who stayed up after the set-piece. Hayden back-heeling it, and James Jones hitting a powerful shot, which Johnson fumbled and just managed to shovel in an ugly manner around the post. He nearly pushed it onto the inside of the post and in for a goal. 12 minutes left, and Parkinson doubles down looking for the goal. He brings off Lee and brings on Sam Dalby, who would be very, very sharp. He did a really good short shift of hard work. In fact, he was terribly unlucky not to score soon after he came on. Just 3 minutes after he comes on, Palmer playing a ball in towards the edge of the area and following his pass in. Dalby receives it though, pivots and hits a terrific snapshot which caught everyone unawares, which hit the post and flew behind for a goal kick. An excellent effort. Johnson had no chance with it. But 2 minutes later, Wrexham did a good breakthrough, and it was the other substitute who struck, and what a lovely goal it was. Jordan Davis getting the ball in midfield, feeding a super little pass curved around his man to find Palmer, who was pinning his marker on the edge of the area. Palmer backs in, holds onto it, waits, and then plays a perfectly weighted square return pass to Davis, who's followed his pass into the box. And Davis, it's on his right foot, so what's he going to do? From 10 yards out, he somehow wraps his left foot right around it and hits it beautifully with the outside of his left foot inside the right post. A terrific, fluent, intelligent goal. The weight and contact of every touch perfect, and Wrexham have the lead. And in all honesty, Halifax didn't really look like they had much to bring to the party. They didn't threaten. Wrexham looked comfortable, and in the 90th minute got the third goal that they deserved. And this was a highly entertaining one. Hayden, who'd been manhandled all along, stays on the halfway line when Wrexham win a corner. He starts to jog forwards belatedly. He appears to ask permission, either from Tozer or Parkinson. Should I keep going? And gets the nod. What this has the effect of doing, and I'd love it if it was a plan, but I suspect it wasn't, is that his markers now can't pick him up because he arrives incredibly late. He jogs in, this long run from the halfway line, times it to perfection. Young sweeps it in, and Hayden, with the momentum of this super long run up, meets it with a magnificent header. I mean, we know he can jump, but goodness me, to all angles, it looks to me like the ball is higher than the crossbar, or at least as high as it, and yet Hayden gets over it and heads it downwards with power. Johnson's got no chance. A brilliant header. Hayden continues his terrific run of scoring. 4 goals in the last 4 games, 5 in the last 7. He's a centre-back and runs off in glorious celebration. Celebration so glorious of a goal so wonderful that if you watch the highlights, you'll see that when they cut from him to the crowd, there's a man at the front of the stand waving his crutches in the air. Hayden's goal was so good, it healed the lane. So, a smashing performance, coming back from adversity. Once again, 3 goals in a half at the racecourse, and yeah, a really hugely entertaining night with the fans making terrific noise, and a blimp. Looking at the individual performances, Howard had nothing to do really. Only a simple save, letting a penalty. His distribution was good. He suited the dynamic of the game. Of course, he does keep the ball moving, not just those long passes which manage to find players, but he keeps the ball moving at the back. You know, when we're trying to chase a game and the ball's going backwards, he's quickly shifting the point of the start of the attack. You know, just keeping that momentum and rhythm going. But he had nothing to do in terms of goalkeeping in truth. Across the back, the 3 centre-backs, just like at Bournemouth, were absolutely outstanding. Hayden and Tozer in particular were really not just defending well. I mean, they spent so much time in the other side's half. They both scored. They were both driving Wrexham forwards. 2 players who took massive responsibility for the game situation. For me, Hayden was magnificent. Tozer, for me, just nicked the Man of the Match award. But in commentary on Wrexham Player, 2 against 1, we went for Hayden, and frankly, I can see why. They were both terrific. I gotta say, when we took Tunnicliffe off, I was thinking he could be Man of the Match. He did very well defensively. He's not as comfortable going forwards, but he's okay. And he was getting forwards a little bit, and he's very solid defensively. He's only brought off because we're going to change to 4 at the back, and in doing so, well, I mean, he's the obvious one because Tozer's got his long throw-ins and Hayden got his headers. So if we're trying to chase a game, those 2 are both goal threats. But a very, very good performance again from Tunnicliffe, who is making an excellent belated start to his Wrexham career. In midfield, Young, I've seen him at better games. But typically, he was non-stop and looking to drive the team forwards and digging in. And his positional nous allowed the wing-backs to play as wingers, essentially. Jones, I thought, did really well. His passing not always right, but his energy, again, really good. And he does get into shooting positions too and tested the keeper. Lee had a frustrating one, but I don't feel too worried about it, if I'm honest. He's trying to fit into the formation of last season now. That's what we're trying, and his work rate's very good. Halifax didn't want him to get space, and they successfully denied him that. Okay, so he didn't find his targets, but there'll be other games where he will work that space and punish teams. He's allowed to have a game where things don't quite work for him. The wing-backs did terrifically well. Ford on the right had real end product. He was finding players, really good delivery. And he won a penalty, but it wasn't given. Likewise, on the left-hand side, McFadden is full of energy when he's chasing the game, driving up, being dangerous. So unlucky when he hit the bar. He looks so dangerous, and yet he hasn't scored for us yet. So they both showed great energy and determination and quality. And then up front, well, obviously, Mullen and Palmer, neither of them scored unusually. First time neither of them scored in the home game since the first game of the season. Palmer really grew into the game, and a lot of moves were revolving around him in the second half, so he was threatening. He missed a couple of chances. I think he'll be frustrated that he'll feel he could have taken them, but he had a decent enough game, a solid game. It was difficult for the strikers as well, because they were constantly being fouled, and the referee was allowing it, so there was the shirt tugging was de rigueur. Mullen had a quiet game by his standards, but still had some good moments, and if you want to see the quality of the man, look at the very end of the game, the final whistle, because he's worked so hard and he's still willing to roll his sleeves up and put in the proper effort. And so in the very last minutes of added time, we're defending a corner, it gets cleared, he gets it on the edge of the Wrexham box and goes on a fabulous run down the right-hand side. He has 4 Halifax players trailing in his wake and they just can't get close enough to challenge him. He just drives on with pace, determination to the corner of the pitch when he slows down and allows one of them to knock the ball out for a throw-in, and the ref blows his final whistle. And I just think, there you are, your gala player, your fancy player, who's not had as successful a day as he'd like. Doesn't mean he's going to sulk. I can think of certain expensive, high-quality strikers who do sulk. I mean, no names. But Mullen just keeps going. He knows, even though the game's probably safe anyway, and he could have just hoofed out the pitch. No, I'm going to do the job properly. And the crowd loved it. The bloke is terrific. And even if he doesn't manage to get in the score sheet or quite influence the game as he likes to, he'll do things like that to show he's a wholehearted competitor. So great stuff. Huge kudos to Parkinson, who made a change, which made a difference, and then made a second change to put more goal threat on the pitch, which also made a difference. One of his substitutes scored. Clearly that was clever. A change of shape worked. It caught Halifax out. They just started to struggle to work out what they were going to do. And we continue to win at home. A remarkable record at home. And, well, let's see what Saturday brings. But with a final score of Wrexham 3, Halifax Town 1, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.